Alright guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of The Joe of Painting. I am Joe Lawson, and today we will be painting a scene from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, my personal favorite Zelda game, and we're going to take a shot at Dragon Roost Island. When I was younger, my cousin Danielle and her sister Rachel, also my cousin, they had Ocarina of Time. I was a PlayStation dude, that was my first console, so I'd go to their house and almost always they would be at some point in Ocarina of Time playing the game. And then when the GameCube came out and Wind Waker came out, I jumped on it and it became my instant favorite Zelda. And particularly Dragon Roost Island. I love that tune. Sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and put it on loop and just listen and draw, do whatever. So we're going to try. I've been looking at some reference images. I played the game last night. And I'm just going to try and paint from memory as best I can. We got a couple references here. But hopefully you'll recognize Dragon Roost as I paint it. I have a 20 by 24 canvas here with liquid white. I spread that real nice and even across. Liquid white, and then I ran a piece of masking tape right across here. This is going to be our horizon line. So I'm going to paint our sky down through here. And then I'm going to come in with some more blue and paint in our water, which is a nice kind of deep aqua blue. And our sky is going to be, like usual, real dense at the top, dense blue at the top, and it's going to just kind of cascade on down into more white. And then in Wind Waker, if you played Wind Waker, if you like that game, you'll remember that it gets kind of misty towards the horizon. You'll see the horizon, but things will be set in front of that horizon line, so you'll have that depth. But I noticed in Wind Waker, as you're approaching islands, they're kind of set right on that horizon line. They're pretty much matched. So we're not going to have too much of our tall spire encroaching into our ocean. We're gonna paint our sky, we're gonna do our ocean, and then that island's just gonna sit pretty much right there. And then we're gonna go up. I'm gonna paint this nice and clear. It's gonna, as if we're about to make landfall on the island. And then as it goes up, it's gonna get more and more. That atmosphere is gonna come in, and it's gonna be more silhouetted. And we'll have Valoo the dragon sitting up there, just hanging out, enjoying the view. All right, let's get going. And like usual, start with your little X shapes right here across the top. Just come on down, bring that sky down. And this is a taller sky than usual, so this will be nice and blue up top here. And then once we get our sky in, we'll bring those clouds in. Be careful of this mask here, because I have that oil paint down, so it's not really sticking, so you got to be mindful of, how you do your brush. If you come down, your bristles might slide under, but if you kind of go along the grain or even come up, you might be able to utilize that line. And it's okay if it's not perfect, because we'll be painting down here too, so nice big sweeping X's. Just kind of ladder on down. Nice. We're getting our ocean sky here. Just kind of getting the densities we want, and then we'll go back in and really just bring it all together as best we can. So I'm running low on blue, but I'm going to use what I got. Really just load it up. Bring in more of our ultra blue. Yeah, I wish I was more savvy with these names, but there's just so many names for these colors. When you buy different brands, they kind of vary. They're pretty standard, but you still get some name changes on you. But that's okay. We're going for an ocean here. So, I'm going to walk our blue in here. And we got that liquid white already, so just remember that it is going to mix. And again, those soft X's. And again, come down from the tape. You don't want to push up and compromise that position. And again, do your best. 'Tis a beautiful day at sea. And think of the great sea as you're painting. If you sailed the great sea with Link and the King of Red Lions, you know, you put a lot of hours in. You know that ocean better than anybody. It's not about the picture. It's not about copying the picture. It's about painting your experience. Here we go, moment of truth. Damn. I like it. Now I have one of these little guys. I think I'm gonna mix up my colors here. So we have like a brown mustard color, I think, what we're gonna do for the island here. And we're gonna utilize these blues the best we can. Actually, pause. We gotta do those clouds. Joe, what are you thinking? Alright, so with our 1-inch blender brush, we're gonna pull in our paint. We're gonna get nice and load it into those bristles. Real kind of press at an angle and pull. Pull, pull. And we're just going to be using our corner. And the way Bobby does it is he just kind of pushes in these clouds. So we're going to have one behind Valoo because that white is going to be a high contrast for his silhouette up top here. So we're going to start there, and that's going to lead our cloud making. And you know, we're at sea, so we have these billowing clouds. And then we'll do a guy over here. Oh. And I notice in Wind Waker, the clouds aren't really poofy. They don't have too much dimension. They're really kind of flat and wispy, which kind of works to our advantage. We're going to have another guy coming in close to the top here. Big guy. But he kind of stops short right there. And I'm just bringing white in. Like I said, we're gonna try and mimic that just solid body cloud. We don't want too much of a focal point with these guys. They're just atmosphere. They're just kind of giving us a sense of what it's like out here at sea. They're also a backdrop for our dragon. All right. I'm going to clean my brush. Back to palette knife. I might step in the painting with this knife, just kind of draw it, like real lightly draw it in, and then bring in my little pencil brush and start painting. So I'm going to take a bit of this and just set it aside for if we want to add any shadows. And then highlights we can come in with our yellow, maybe mix a yellow-white and just introduce those. So now that I have that on my knife, I just drag it out, get it as clean as I can, and then just go and get a nice little bead roll on the edge of my knife. So I'm just going to step it in. Let's see, blue's here. Here's our horizon. So we have this little notch that comes out here. It's like a little oasis. As soon as you make landfall on the island, it's like this little oasis. I'm going to go ahead and just run this across and kind of establish the base width of my island. And I want it centered, so we want that hourglass to come out this way a little bit. And I'll make these more prominent in a second for you. I just got to do it for myself. Make sure it's where I want it. The water. We have kind of a platform that juts out, almost like Pride Rock from Lion King. Or however it goes, I don't know. Something like that. Something about pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom. And then we'll go ahead and establish our top here. Wait, I need to get out of Lion King and back into Zelda. And then I know we do have this sort of little rock mass over here. Little spires sticking out. I think there's some rupees over there, some of those annoying ass birds. They're like, but they got those gold feathers, so you kind of want to tackle them. And I know that guy just drops right down in the water. And we're just sketching right now. We're not really setting this in big time. All right. And I know there's kind of a bigger boulder rock right there. Let's see. I almost want to bring more masking tape in. I'm going to do that just to preserve that edge as best we can. And just gently set it in there. And then when we come back after this and we come back and finish our water, if there's any hiccups here from the tape, from the mask, we'll address that. So we're kind of working on our middle color. And then we'll come back in and we'll do, the rocks have like these shales in them, almost like dragon scales that kind of like cascade down the mountain. And they're dark, that's where they're like bigger rocks, and that's where they meet. And there's those crevices there, and the light can't get in. So we'll definitely be adding some depth and texture to this guy. But right now, I'm just going to fill it in as best I can. Really sculpt Dragon Roost. Ding, 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 ding. And I'm going to leave these finer features. I have some smaller brushes, like this guy, for example, is a nice little pencil. And this guy's another little pencil with a chisel tip. So these finer features, I'm going to let those hang out, and I'm going to use my bigger brush for the body of this island. So now I'm getting this kind of gray color. It's this very happenstance. I like it. It's a mix of the yellow, that ochre, that brown, the blue, the white. We're getting that atmosphere I was hoping for. And I'm just going to, since we have it working, I'm just going to pull it down in, and then I'll meet it with that yellow where there's more body. Ding, 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 ding. Since they're up there, I'm going to go ahead and get my pencil brush. I'm going to set you aside just for a second because I'm probably going to revisit you, Mr. Flat Brush. Let's just roll in a little bit of that color you mixed. Not too much, just something to extend what's already going on here. And I'm going to start painting Valoo. So he's got this big pot belly. He's a pretty big dragon, so he sits up here. And don't be afraid to grab a lot of that ochre, because you got a lot of white and blue up here mixing, and this is the color we're going to get, which is kind of what we want. I might introduce a little more blue later, and then really just set it into the painting. So we're going to go ahead and just start sketching. This is his belly. Maybe he's got like a little hump here for his leg that's chilling. I know his neck. Let's see. This is going to be, I'm going to put his head right here. Y'all, this is going to be the best. This is the best. And so his neck kind of just flushes in with his stomach. He doesn't really have a pot belly, just kind of almost like a teardrop. And he's real subtle up here. And I'm just sketching out his form. So he's got a nice little round cheek there. And then his forehead kind of comes into his nose. It doesn't drop and then nose. It's just kind of like, well, it does a little bit, but then it mostly just comes out. He's got a nice alligator snout. Don't forget his wings. He's got one big wing up top. And I think there are 3 wing feathers, but we're just going to do about 2. Alright, we got Valoo to a good spot. Can you see him up there? He's just chilling. I'm going to go ahead and clean out my pencil, and I'll come back to that. We got a good bit of wet paint up there, so it's not going anywhere. It's not going to dry on us. I can always come back. And I'm going to keep working on this body here. Look at that body. That's my Ganon laugh. Sorry guys, I'm going to jump over here real quick just to get this angle. There we are. And there it is. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doo, doo, doo. Now I'm going to take my little pencil brush and I'm going to work on these little features over here before I run out of my special color. Let's see. One spire. I think there's a little group of them. There's a couple. Let's do some varying heights. It's kind of floating out there. Gets a little thicker towards the base. Again, you're just sketching it in. And thinking about how you want it to fill. Alright. I'm going to get my little palette knife again, and I'm going to go for that yellow ochre because it's a little darker. It's much thicker than our raw sienna. I'm going to bring it down here with it though. And I'm going to start working that in. I'm going to clean off my palette knife. I'm just curious to see. I'm going to clean out my little brush. But I'm just curious to see how this thicker paint works and mixes with the paint we already got going here. I want to start drawing in. So when you come in, there's like, you know, the rock. You have this little beach that you land on. Get this rock facing you. And this is where you got the little red mailbox over here. Some other boulders you can hop. Almost like a boulder right here. The difference between this rock and then the rock that Bob usually paints, that has those, he's going for that sort of chaotic texture. We're going for shell or cell shading, like from the game. I'm going to do it. I'm bringing in some black. I'm going to just bring it down here. Again, try not to mix with your brush. But we do want a little bit of texture, so maybe that marbling will be to our advantage. I'm going to bring in some yellow too. Sandy beach. Just drop them on in there. Since there's already a lot of paint going on right there, you could probably just drop some white in and not too much, but just let it mingle. Be like, hi guys, I'm white. I'm here to turn you into sand. Hopefully the rock and the beach will oblige. So now we're going to lay in a little more umber, and then I'm going to start doing my shales. Those crevices in the rock that kind of show it where this big mass of rock separates another rock. Just really just kind of come in here and kind of create some bigger bodies. Definitely play with that texture. And this gives you like a nice like fat round kind of scale, and that's what we're going for, is these different rock formations. And then, you know, this is just a guide, and then we'll come back in with our darker color. Ding 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 ding. that sucker off. Get that paint thinner out. Make sure it's dry for next time. Alright, so pencil brush, we're just going to spin it in, load it up, and just start. So now this is where we're practicing our chaos. But we've already outlined the bodies of these scales already, so I'm just going to start sketching it in, kind of putting some dots just to see where I want it. It's okay to draw with dots and then connect them. It's okay if you don't get it exactly filled in like first pass. We're just sketching into that paint. It's okay if things have outline. I might go back and outline a lot of this just because it really makes it pop. Okay. So now I'm going to see about setting these in real quick. And again, just real gentle, just tease it into the painting. Just kind of patting it in there. Just using the corner. It's okay if they spread a little bit. And once these are set, you can always go back in with that brown and that pencil brush and define it a little more. Again, we're going for atmosphere towards the top, so I'm going to bring about 1/3 of our mountain down, that bluish gray down. Let it mingle with the brown. Alright, so now to speed things up, let's see, where do we want to go from here? Clean off my 1-inch. We're going to paint 3 palm trees, and we're just going to use straight up cadmium yellow. Maybe we'll use the palette knife. Nope. We're using our pencil brush. Decision made. We're just going to step it in. I'm going to do one guy right here. One guy right here. One guy kind of arcing off to the left over here. Real gentle. And then with our Viridian, and the tip of my palette knife, I'm just going to step out those leaves. Again, just kind of connect the dots. Just kind of scritch them in there. So we get those 2 low lying leaves, or big palm fronds. And just to make it kind of bouncy, we're going to go up from there and do the next 2. I'm going to visit my pencil brush and just kind of work with these guys. Yeah, the bases there, those are a little more thick than I wanted, but we're pressed for time. So I just got to get this sucker done. So I'm going to clean up a little pencil brush. I think we're ready to pull this guy off. Ready? Go. Cool, we got a bit of sparkle. Now I'm going to take my dry 1-inch and just kind of talk it. That tape kind of pulled some of that paint up. That's okay. Kind of created a nice texture, but not one that we want a lot of. Just gently kind of work that back in. It's okay if there's a little bit of sparkle. That's how water works, especially on an ocean. Just careful not to get your browns and your blues. Alright, clean that little guy out. And then take your smaller palette knife, get some white, draw it out a little bit, and just go a nice little bead, maybe up into your beach a little bit just to show there's some waves crashing there. Make sure you're horizontal to your horizon line. You're parallel. Some waves rolling in. And they gotta have triangular waves in the game, so kind of do a little small angle and then angle back down, angle up and then down, just like that. And you just want to distribute these nice and even. Make it interesting to the eye, not necessarily line, but just kind of, you know, the ocean's random. Carve these guys in. Now when you play the game, you'll be like, hey, I saw Joe paint that. Just kind of have fun with it. Some straighter ones. Some kind of going off the edge there. And then one big guy right here. Since it's closer to us, there's more nuance, more variation to the form of that wave. Over here, it's kind of hard to tell because it's way far off and it's mostly straight. Kind of sinks into that horizon line. I'm good with it. It's a good stopping point. Later in the series, we'll probably do some revisits. We'll come in and maybe add some touch-ups or really push these to the finish line. But yeah, just as far as getting started on this guy, I'm in love. I think this is one of the best ones I've done so far. Very happy about that. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for supporting this series and being so excited about it. That's the best part. I'm glad you guys are excited to just watch me paint. And you guys can do this too. Like that's what this is all about, is just putting paint to canvas and seeing what you can do. And you know, Bob talks a lot about, you know, he does all these awesome landscapes, but then he'll try every now and again to drop like a person in there, a figure, a portrait or something, and it'll just flop. And he'll tell stories about how, you know, at least he tried, but he found his home as a landscape painter, and that's where he really focused all his efforts. So yeah, I don't know if I'm an oil painter, but I certainly enjoy doing it. I'm going to keep doing it, and hopefully you'll be along for that ride. And who knows, maybe a year from now, I'll be able to do this in 10 minutes, and this will, you know, really take off and really just grow into a really awesome painting. But yeah, Dragon Roost Island, enjoy. Thank you again for joining and watching, and we'll see you next time. I am Joe Lawson, and this is the Joe of Painting. Thank you.